To order for April 16th, 2026. First item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Shanae, do we have anyone wishing to speak to the council?
Yes, we do. Mr. Yasser Arafat, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much. I am here today to speak on behalf of my community. We have been trying to get a cemetery in Irving for a long time, and I think most of you I know. I've either worked with you guys in ICVB or I have known you guys outside of ICVB. So I think this is a very important project for our community. And I can tell you guys my personal story. My daughter, she passed away in 2013, and she was my first baby. And we did not have any cemetery in Irving. So she had to be buried in Denton. And in order for us to go to Denton, you know that it takes a while. I think first of all, you have to drive for 45 minutes, get there, and then it's like a full day program that you have to do. So I think that thing stuck me really, really bad. And I was like, okay, what can we do for the other families in Irving? So as far as our community is concerned, I think we only had 2 choices. One choice was Denton. The second choice was Farmersville. So I looked at the state law. I think the state law was changed in 1970s, where you could not build any new cemeteries in the state of Texas. And most of that land was taken over by corporations at that time. I worked with Terry Meza's office. It's a long story. I think it took us almost 4 years to get the state law changed. And finally, I think the first cemetery was in Arlington. That was a historical cemetery, and it was reactivated, and the community started using it. So I was very happy and very proud of it that, we worked with our legislators and make that happen. Now I think the next thing came to what can we do in Irving? So there is one piece of land that we have identified, and I think it's right next to Estelle Creek Cemetery, which is a historical cemetery. It's a very quiet place, I think very nice place.
40 seconds left.
And I will be very happy if you guys can help us rezone that piece of land. I think it will be in Irving. It will help our families. It can save us a lot of time. We usually take the bodies to the mosque. We pray on them and then take them to the graveyard. So I think it will be an amazing experience for our children, for our families and loved ones. So that's all I had to say. I will appreciate your support. Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the citizens' city operation update.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. April Reiling, Director of Communications, pleased to present to you the last month on ICTN for March.
Your ICTN team produced 40 videos in the month of March.
Our steaks are really popular, especially the filet. Pizzas are a great seller. We do a lot of pizza.
This is the North Texas Teen Book Festival, which is, for authors, one of the most coveted. You want to be invited to this festival.
Everything from quality of life to infrastructure, your feedback helps guide the city's long-term strategy and priorities.
It's a better experience, I think, than just buying directly online where you can't touch and feel.
We added the butterfly, and it's sized where you could stand in front of the butterfly and you're the butterfly.
We have the world's greatest Eagles tribute band, Seven Bridges. We've had them here before, and we had a lot of requests to have them back.
new year-round indoor aquatic facility is replacing the old outdoor pool.
This silly fence has been here for years. It's never been a problem before.
We don't need to make problems. So many people have been saying, we've been waiting on this coffee shop. We're so glad to have you.
It makes me feel really proud to be a part of the city, to be a part of this opportunity.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not something that I even imagine.
Stay up to date by subscribing to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The City of Irving.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Next up, the popular annual financial report, hot off the press, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Brett, is showing that off by Vanna White. This is a collaboration between the Communications Department and our Finance Department. This is our 6th edition of the PAFR, and so far we have won awards for the past 5. So you're looking at another future award-winning edition of the annual report. It includes many, many financial highlights. It talks about the vibrant economy in Irving, accomplishments for the past year, as well as a look ahead with some projects that are upcoming. This is going to be available online starting next week for our residents. There are going to be copies available at City Hall, and anybody in the audience, there's copies at the table outside of the work session room, and you're welcome to take them. You are officially the first ones to get those in your hands if you do take them. So I'm pleased to present this to you once again, Mayor and Council.
We had, this morning we were talking about it, both the meetings we had earlier about the costs of increasing and the inflation prices. And then we also talked about breaks where we had emergency repairs and things of that nature. And Dennis, I'm not going to take his credit for this because he's the one that said something about it. It would be, maybe one of the things that would be kind of interesting to put in here is the emergency repairs that we see within our city, because, you know, it costs us $1,000 or $1 million to fix the walnut, you know, which wasn't in the budget. So you have to come up with those kind of dollars several times a year. We've had sewer breaks that cost us $5 and $6 million. And so, and then the other thing that was kind of interesting was when we were looking at the roads to the future and we were looking at the cost, the pipe that we put in the ground has gone up 198% in the last 2 years. So just for the residents to understand that even though we try to stay on budget and we try to get everything done, when there's a $1 million hit, that means there's $1 million less we don't spend. We had a list of roads today that I don't think we have to go into this type of detail that we will not be able to do as we planned because of the inflated costs. So we'll have to go out for another bond package to do that. But I think more than explain all that, but to just say, and through all this, we've also had these emergency things that we had to fix. Dennis, I don't want to steal your credit on that because that was something you talked about, because everybody always talks about managing our budget and we spend too much, or we don't spend enough, or we need to run it like this or that. But I don't think their understanding of a $50 billion operation that you get million to $6 million hits that aren't in the budget on a regular basis. So it'd be kind of interesting. Again, not all the detail I just went into, but just to say, and these are the challenges we faced because of out of the budget items, to give them an idea of what we really spend in time and things of that nature to do that as well. I don't know, it may not be, Dennis, you may want to.
Yeah, and I was just simply, when I looked at this, I thought it would be real nice if we had maybe like a semi-annual report given to the residents of the unexpected expenses, you know, that we never expected, so they can see the millions of dollars that actually are spent that they never think about. And so it also, I kind of put this plug in the TNR meeting. It also helps everybody to understand why we need to be very active in Austin as Austin tries to continue to reduce our revenue abilities and put expenditure caps on our expenses. but they don't think about these type of emergency expenses that we have. So that's what I want the residents, because we're going to need the residents to help us. And so the more educated they are, about all these expenses, the better off we'll be.
Good idea. We'll do it.
But great report. I've looked through it since it came out. I appreciate all the information. I think it's very telling, and great job.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is I've got a proclamation. So I have some people from the officers that are here for Telecommunicators Week. Chief, you can come up here and smile with them. One of the things that people don't realize is the amount of work and the amount of energy and the commitment that these individuals make, because they are the ones, when they get the calls, they are the ones that make sure that they reroute everything to where it needs to go, and people are taken care of when they're in a challenging situation. So the Telecommunications Week, we have a proclamation. Whereas National Telecommunicators Week was formalized in 1994 by President Bill Clinton, establishing the second week of April for the annual observance to honor emergency telecommunicators' vital, often unseen work. And whereas the emergency telecommunicators of the Irving Police Department are trained, licensed, and often the first point of contact in an emergency, who display professionalism and composure in every situation with their calm and resilient voices. And whereas answering thousands of 911 calls annually, they swiftly dispatch aid to emergencies like robberies and accidents, play a vital role in public safety, and whereas these unseen heroes ensure the safety of Irving's residents, businesses, and visitors, connecting them to life-saving resources at a moment's notice. Now therefore, I, Rick Stouffer, Mayor of the City of Irving, and the Irving City Council, do hereby proclaim April 12th through 18th, 2026 as Telecommunications Week in Irving, Texas. Congratulations. Thank you. So I asked one of them if they wanted to say anything, and they declined. It's interesting because they talk for a living. So. Okay, the next item is the Entertainment Center update.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Eric Albert, who's the general manager of Toyota Music Factory, is here to provide an annual report and update on the Toyota Music Factory. Eric?
Thank you,
Philip. Eric.
How we doing, guys?
Good.
Awesome. Just bear with me for 1 second here while I get set up. So I'd like to go ahead and start off by just announcing GGP here. So GGP is Brookfield. Just for those of that, we've had a brand change. Nothing has changed on our side. We were Brookfield Retail. The retail division has just gone back to GGP. So if you ever hear us say GGP, it's Brookfield. So I'd like to start out most importantly with just thanking all of our partners for over this last year. We've had a big year this year, this last year. And so our partners over at Economic Development, our partners over at IPD and FD, along with our city council here. We had a really good year, and I'm really excited to show you guys kind of what we're looking at. I also want to just importantly just thank Mayor Rick for his leadership and ongoing partnership. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to keep this very high level and focused on the areas that matter most. We'll start with this quick executive summary of performance, and then we'll move into visitation trends. And I think it's really important for the city council team to see who's coming to Music Factory, how are they interacting with the property, and over what districts are we actually seeing people come from. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when you start to look at the data as we drill in on this. And then we'll touch on capital investments, our programming strategy, and then a forward look going forward of just how we're looking for 2026 and moving forward. So last year, quick high-level summary here. We had 1.6 million annual visitors, strong visitation and continued growth, reinforcing TMF as a regional destination and a placemaking anchor. We had 320 plus total events, delivering high-frequency event calendars supporting ongoing activations of the asset and establishing a predictable cadence of programming. Something to call out there is that it's about 80 pavilion events and 242 plaza events. We also had about a little over 70 million in total sales, which is a strong tenant performance driven by a curated experience focused on tenant mix and demonstrating the property's ability to translate activations into economic impact. We also had capital investment of about $3 million, utilizing strategic reinvestments into the asset to support long-term performance and guest experience. I think that all of these results here just reflect a disciplined approach to placemaking, activation, asset management. This is the whole year in a nutshell right here. One thing that I really do think is that this is driving consistent visitation, supporting tenant performance, and reinforcing TMF as a high-performing regional destination to the city. So looking at our visitation overview, so this is Placer AI. If you guys are unfamiliar with Placer AI, this is it tracks cell phones. So everybody that's coming to the property, it's going to give them a cell phone ping, and it lets us know that they're on property. It's a little big brother, but we definitely, since we don't have any other occupancy way to track people, we definitely feel that this is the most accurate way. But as a reminder, this is just a tool. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but it gives us really good data. So for Toyota Music Factory, you can see that there's three different assets there: Toyota Music Factory, the Pavilion, and the Plaza. Each one of these tell a little bit of a different story. 1.6 million visits for Toyota Music Factory with a 2.3% growth year over year. So that's coming right out of the redevelopment. The Pavilion of 516,000 visitors, but less than year over year is down 8.9% unfavorable. A lot of this is going to be due to the fact that they had 99 shows the previous year and only 80 shows the following year. So last year we only had 80 shows. 5 of those shows were due to some economic impacts with immigration, where they weren't able to get these artists to the actual building. So we had some of that. And we also had a slowdown of actual attendance just with what we saw across the board with discretional spending. Plaza as well. This is probably the biggest one and the most important one here for our city council team, is that we had 134,000 visits to the Plaza. It was a 113% pickup on the Plaza. Now this is where we redeveloped and did the most recent redevelopment of the Plaza area. This is due to just very specific marketing efforts and activation efforts. So the one thing I want to call out here is that the Pavilion really does drive attendance and it's probably one of the primary drivers of attendance and visitation to the property. Yet Toyota Music Factory still maintained a 2.3% growth rate, despite the downfall of the Pavilion's less shows, and that was due to the Plaza. So I think the Plaza has really transitioned as a second major asset and an anchor for the property as we continue to move forward to help with visitation on property. So looking at this graph here, you can see that overall property performance, Toyota Music Factory, approximately 1.6 million visits in 25. In 24 is 1.5 million, so we're coming out of that redevelopment stage right there. Vegetation show a clear seasonality with activity building through the spring and peaking late summer and early fall. And I think that's pretty important. You can see that as the Pavilion grows, Toyota Music Factory grows. The Plaza, you can see kind of down there as being a subtle second draw for us on a property. But one thing I really want to call out is that January through May, you can see that we have a little bit of a bump there. And that's from our partnerships over at ICC. And I want to thank Maura and all of her team and all the hard work that they do to help collaborate with us and my team to collaborate with ICC. We get a lot of convention traffic right in the beginning of the year. And so it starts out with convention traffic, and then it goes into heavy Live Nation traffic into Q4, Q3, and then it kind of tapers out at the end of the year. That's not necessarily how sales always direct, though. Restaurants get very busy in Q4 with all of the corporate demand that comes from corporate holiday parties. So it's not necessarily correlated to how sales represent, but this is how visitation on the property. And then this one's pretty important, and I think it speaks to Music Factory here as well, is that we have a loyal and a casual guest. Loyal is just defined as somebody that's come to the property more than once. Casual is just they came one time. So we had 873,000 visitors that are coming more than one time to the property. 150,000 to the pavilion and 52,000 to the plaza. And then on the casual side, it's 701,000 to the property, 366 and 82. I think the big call out here is that the difference between the pavilion, it's a casual guest, it's a regional draw, and their loyal guests. And so how do we continue to keep attracting them to the property and bringing them back after they've visited? These are all new guests that are coming for the first time, and then we have an opportunity to bring them back. This one I thought that would be pretty interesting for you guys to see. We are seeing strong local engagement. So this is that dark area that you guys see right there in Irving is going to be where all of our home locations, so these are people coming from their home to Toyota Music Factory, where they're actually coming from. So you can see we have heavy Coppell, Grapevine, Farmers Branch, very heavy in Irving, and then as it kind of spreads out, it's more regional draw. So that's going to be all the pavilion and all of those guests coming from a further distance. But we do see a heavy south, a heavy north Irving. We also see a very heavy Coppell and Grapevine, and then we start to breach into Farmers Branch. I think this shows that the asset is being heavily utilized by those that are around us. This next one that you're going to look at is showing people coming from their work location to Music Factory. And this was actually pretty surprising. As we see South Lake and West Lake all the way grow, all the way out, we're still seeing those people coming from their work locations to Music Factory. Whether they're going to other businesses around us and then coming for business lunches, dinners, or they're utilizing any of the tenants on property, this is a great sign. You can see that Irving still makes up the biggest visitation there with Irving zip code 75039 at 90,000 people, or 5% of the total. So Irving is still showing a really great corporate market for us and a really strong local market as well. So just some key insights is that we have a strong local base, 873,000 repeat visits, demonstrating a strong local audience. Irving and Los Colinas zip codes remain the primary visitation drivers. Corporate market strength works. Visitation increased from nearby corporate offices slightly year over year. I know that a lot of you guys might be wondering, how is Wells Fargo doing across the street? We're seeing a 20% increase from across the street zip code to Music Factory. Now, the only thing that's changed is actually just that area right there. It's going to be Wells Fargo. So the only thing that we can actually put that to is that Wells Fargo's guests are coming over this way and their team members are. Event programming drives activities. Pavilion shows remain the largest traffic driver. Strong correlation between concerts, visitation, and tenant sales. And then plaza activations are performing. So plaza continues to be a big focus for us. As that visitation more than doubled year over year, activations help maintain traffic during non-concert periods. So kind of going into our leasing updates. I did want to just, it's not on the slide here, but wanted to go over real quick with you guys. Our total GLA, our gross leasable area, is currently standing at 418,000 square feet. We are occupied 91%. Our vacancy is 8%, and total occupants right now are 22 tenants on property. Last year we had, in 2025, two major openings, Punchline Irving and Sushi Sakana. Punchline has been a really solid tenant to the property. We had two sold out opening nights with Dave Chappelle. They continue to bring in regional and local acts to the property. Are showing strong event turnouts and bookings. This is not only a tenant that's producing sales and use tax, but they're also producing admissions tax. So they are a great partner to the property that continues to drive economic impact. Sushi Sakana was another one, strong brand and operator throughout DFW. They are growing and focused on the capitalizing on ICC events, everything that's kind of going on around us. So whether it be an event on property or it be ICC, they continue to capitalize on all of that. In 2026, this year, I'm very excited. We have Roots Chicken Shack. This is a Tiffany Dairy concept. She's been a winner of Top Chef, and she's a good friend of all the major chefs you can think of, the Gordon Ramsays of the world. She has a concept of called Roots Chicken. This is done really well in Plano, and they're looking to franchise it. So we've taken on their second location, very strong operator and a great brand for the property. They're going to go into the B1 102 space. Tashan Indian Social is currently still being built out. They have secured their Michelin star chef. This is Tashan Indian Social. They're going to be in the A2 100 building. This is probably looking like a late summer opening. They just opened their first one of these concepts in Plano called Jonathan, and it's doing really well right now. Also, Roots Chicken Shack is probably going to look like an early, mid-July, early July for that opening as well. Big thing here is the 2026 leasing focus. I think over this last couple of years, we've really kind of gotten a good understanding of how the property works, what the property needs, who's coming to the property, and we really need to focus on brand-driven, experiential dining and entertainment, as well as the C1 building. To put it out there, I know that we had Hospitality Alliance, and they unfortunately did not make it, but this was not an asset issue, it was a tenant issue. And I just want to kind of stress that, is that finding the right tenants is so important right now. The spaces at the C1 building are fully built out. They're showing beautifully. We feel very confident that we'll be able to release those spaces. We've had a lot of interest, and we're trying to find the right major tenant to bring in to take over those spaces, so that way we have more draw to the interior of the property. Going into capital updates, we had some big capital updates last year. We had landscaping improvements throughout the property, and then our lighting BMS system. This was pretty important for us just from the fact that we do consume a lot of electricity with all of our lights and our nighttime activations. So we finally have the ability to control that and regulate it a little bit better. It was a light year as we were coming out of the redevelopment of the plaza and the property. So 2026 has become a big capital year for us. With Live Nation, MEPs, and system focus, we're figuring guest experience is really important for us, so sense of arrival. And so we're looking at everything from floors to HVACs. You guys will start seeing a lot of the heavy lifting being done over there, as well as pedestrian walkway replacements. This one's pretty important. It's not a very fun one. It doesn't add a lot of it doesn't add a lot, but it's something that's very important from the standpoint of making sure that we're not having water intrusion to our tenant spaces and things of that nature. LED board upgrades, you guys have probably seen this one throughout the property. This is about $3 million upgrade we did on property to update all the LED boards. And then we've got two more this year. It's going to be phase one of Rideshare Hill. We call it Uber Hill. This is going to be a 3-year project. We're going to add lighting. We're going to be adding sidewalks and seating up to the Uber Hill area. So that way guests that are going to use the rideshare programs have a safe and well-lit area at night. The security bollards, and thank you again to Economic Development, our friends over at IPD and IFD for all their help on this one. We are just about to sunset this, and all this project will be wrapped up, but I think we're better than Fort Knox at this moment. Like, we have some amazing security systems, which is a testament to the city and city manager, as well as city mayor, putting this initiative in front of us to take it a little bit further and make sure that the guests that come to Music Factory are safe, regardless of what situation it might be. And then programming this year, real quick. Looking at the 2026 programming, we have focused on consistency, and this is really important for the plaza. We are doing evergreen, so these will be events that are happening all the time. We have Factory Fridays, Sip and Sound Saturdays. We have our marathons, and then our post-Live Nation after parties. So these are going to always happen on property every week. As long as Live Nation's activating, we have a Live Nation after party. Every Friday, Saturday, we have Sip and Sounds and Factory Friday. And then we have our marathons. And now signature events, these are just a few to call out, but we have over 250 events planned for the year. We have St. Patrick's Day, Margarita Festivals, Oktoberfest, Tribute to Summer Festivals, and Second Saturdays. The one I didn't put on here, because it's going to be more indirect on our part, is going to be World Cup. We have been talking to all of our tenants about that, and we've been putting it in their radar that any watch parties, anything that they're doing, we'd like to go ahead and make sure that we're putting out there. So we are working with our tenants to have a plaza activation out there for World Cup during that time. We will be super busy with Live Nation, just putting it out there. Dos Equis has opened their doors to watch parties during that time frame, and so we're getting all of the additional events that would go to Dos Equis are coming to us at Music Factory. So we have a very heavy June and July calendar, which is great for us. And then just looking at the review and outlook. So kind of putting this all together, the property welcomed 1.6 million visits, maintaining strong and consistent performance year over year. Tenant sales reached just over 70 million, reflecting continued growth year over year. Live Nation hosted 86 shows, sustaining a robust entertainment presence, a diverse mix of programming and strong local engagement. The property hosted 320 plus events. Ongoing activations continue to drive performance and visitor engagement. 2 new tenants opened, further enhancing the on-site experience. It's going to be 1 full service and 1 entertainment concept. And then just looking at the outlook, and these are the things that we're continuously looking at, is just advancing the corporate and weekday engagement. We have a really, really healthy business district, and our tenants know that. That's why our full-service restaurants do so well, not only in Q4, but all throughout the year for lunch and dinner. Advancing plaza activations. We're going to continue to double down on this, making sure there's consistency and signature events there. Maximizing the pavilion strategy to increase kind of what we were looking at previously when we only have one-time visitors that aren't coming back. These are all new guests to the property. How can we showcase Music Factory to them? And then expanding regional draw and executing the strategic leasing focus on big brand, getting strong long-time operators, strong operators into the property. And that concludes the 2025. Any questions?
Questions? Abdul.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question on this. We have 320 plus events, and what is the total revenue? It says tenant sales. That includes the events as well, or?
So the 70 million is going to include all tenants, so Live Nation and restaurants.
Okay. And in your plans for coming months or next year, we are going to have this free circulator coming in that area. So how you're going to address that more traffic into your facilities?
Yeah, I'm actually working with the city council team right now and working with select members here to better understand how it will impact our operations. So that way we can be better prepared for it. I know that currently we're in the vendor negotiation side of this right now. Once that vendor is established by the city, our intention will be to go to that vendor and start to see how we can incorporate gathering their guests to Music Factory. And if we do incur some increase in guest visitation, that we'll be prepared for it.
Thank you. Al?
Thank you, Mayor. Good report, Eric. Thank you. Just looking up. I guess I'd like you to look forward for the next 18 months, because I know you have to measure where you come from and where you'd like to go. Can you give us a little preview where you feel the areas of strength are, but more importantly, did you meet your goals? And what's it going to take for you to meet the ones that you're going to be hopefully proposing for the next 2 years?
Yeah, great question, Al. Thank you. So looking forward, what we really see on our side is that We need to continue to focus on Live Nation. They are one of the biggest aspects to the property, but we also need to bring in strong brand on leasing. So there has to be a lot of negotiating going on right now. We need to really find the right tenants. We can't just put anybody in there. So taking time to really find those strategic partners that understand what Music Factory is. So finding the talent that's grown up in Las Colinas as well, and Irving, so that way they better understand how Music Factory interacts. So over the next 18 months, we're really focused on that. We're really focused on branding the property as a 17-acre mixed-use development, not just live music, that you come here to activate, you come here for Civic Center, you can come here like this weekend, bass fishing tournament. We have everything from marathons to live music. And so really something important for us is to continue that consistency on Friday and Saturday nights, activating the plaza, and then focusing on our leasing strategy to make sure that we can secure long-term tenants. As you know, Al, owning real estate here, that we got to really focus on making sure that we have 10-year, 20-year tenants in these spaces and not 5, 6, 8. And then, sorry, to answer your last part of your question was, did we hit our goals? I think so. I feel very confident that on the operations side we did. There's a few things that we didn't see coming, as happens in real estate, but we were quickly able to pivot and we were able to start getting traction back on our leasing front. And most importantly, on the operations side, I feel like we've done a really good job. Our parking program is doing really well. We went to free parking last year. On non-event days, we're seeing great success from that. Live Nation is very happy with what's going on property. We're happy with what we're seeing from our current tenants on property. So I would say yes.
Well, first of all, thank you for surviving the remodeling that you had to go through, because that I know that had to have a dent in your some of your projections. But I'm glad to hear you talk about really trying to bring in the kind of quality, whether it's a restaurant or whatever it might be, as far as the retail side. And I want to really commend you for working with our local organizations, the AMBUCs, the Marathon, and there may be others. But at the end of the day, it's a real opportunity for everybody to be win-win, but it also shows your commitment to us at the local level, meaning here in Irving. So thank you.
Absolutely, Al. Thank you.
John?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Eric, for the presentation. Always a pleasure to have you down here and give us an update on the property and how it's doing. These are very promising numbers. I would like to point out, what you mentioned about the previous year we had 99 shows, and this last year we had 80 shows. So that's about a 20% reduction in shows, but only a 9% reduction in traffic.
Yeah.
So I mean, we had fewer shows, but we had more people coming to each show, if you sort of amortize it. So even though that number is down, it's trending in the right direction once you take that into account. So, and the activation of the plaza is tremendous. That's exactly what I wanted to see, and you guys hit that out of the park. I did want to ask, just for my own edification, the C1 building, is that the one across from the stage where Shoals is?
Correct. So it'd be they'll all be C1 right there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the C1 building. Very good. I was sad to see that that tenant didn't work out. I certainly enjoyed all the time I did get to spend there, but that's how it goes. But good luck on the next tenant, and I'm excited to see what you guys bring. And also wanted to express my appreciation for what you guys did with the parking program, especially. That made a huge difference for our residents to be able to go there and enjoy the evening and not have to worry so much about the validation and all that, because that was a complaint that we heard a fair bit of before you put that new program into place. So thank you.
Thank you, John.
David?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Eric, for being here. Where's the B1 building?
B1 is going to be the Ethos Tower, so that entire, the garage, all of that, right behind where Bar Louie is, that kind of alley, right there, that's where they're going to go into for Roots.
Okay, great. And I saw the Live Nation news, I think, a few days ago. Have you heard anything, or is that any effect that you see in the future?
I've been poking myself, but from what I understand, it's all venues that they own. And so in this case, that they don't own this venue, they're leasing it. It's not going to be affecting us, from what I've been told. Right now, at this time, I think there's other assets within Texas that it would affect, but I haven't been told that it will affect this property.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So with the C1 building, I think what you said was the strategy for identifying tenants, to making those a bigger draw is identifying a particular tenant. Is that the main idea, is to have a tenant that will be like a widely known and be a draw? Is that?
Yeah, so and I'll go a little further on that for you, Mark. So what we've really looked at is just like in our malls that you would see, you'd have anchors on all the ends to draw people to different sides of the malls. It's very similar to mixed-use real estate, is if we have separate buildings and they draw people all around, we want people traveling along the property and utilizing the property as not just destinational, but actually as walkable. So what we're looking at there is that we're trying to put big brands. So in A2, you got Alamo, you got Yard House, you've got Thirsty Lion and Bar Louie all the way down A1 side. On the B1 building, we need to put a big brand in there, and then a big brand. And when I say big brand, it really is strong operator that has a good regional draw and has a good visitation basis. So we're looking for somebody that has strong AUVs that can come in and help lift the property in that particular building. So it would be one, and then you can build around from that. We're looking at regional and national. We're not saying that we're not open to new concepts, but we really want to focus on tried and true concepts. We've seen that at Music Factory, a lot of people have come in and they've tried to build concepts at Music Factory and they don't always work. And so we really want to focus on strong concepts that are working within the marketplace already.
Is there more? I mean, more than that? Are you looking at other ways to draw attention to that, to the businesses that are in C1, like signage or anything else?
Yeah,
I know there's more. There's increased signage. If you could talk about that too.
Yeah, so all the new LED boards, that's a big piece of it. All the new directories on the property as well. They're focusing on that. We also have the blades behind the C1 building. This one's pretty important. A lot of people go past Music Factory every day and probably don't even realize it because it's right off their 114. We put all those new blades in and all that signage on the back side of the building to help bring people to that building. And so that way people know and they go, oh, what is that? Oh, we got Alamo there. We have Yard House. What is actually this little development over here? I want to take a look at that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big improvement. As far as like the shows that are being offered by Live Nation, do you have any influence on that, or is it totally subject to whatever they decide?
Yeah, I wish. But it is definitely. It's definitely Live Nation, and they're going to be booking based on pretty much, and it's not to put it all on Live Nation, it's also going to be on the band management and artist of where they want to go, what makes most economic sense for them, given whatever the tour cost might be or any of those types of things. So it's not so much that Live Nation might not be booking particular acts, it's that maybe the tour or the management of the tour wants to go to bigger arenas or team up with different tours. So it could be a number of factors in those circumstances.
So I think the tenant you're trying to draw into C1 is going to be looking at the kind of shows that are being produced at the Music Factory, right?
So I think that a strong brand will see Live Nation as the cherry on top. I think that they're going to bring their own guests. They're going to see how their guests interact. So, I think we're looking at tenants that have entertainment concepts to them. So think of like a Pins Mechanical, or think of like a Dave and Buster's type deal where they have an activity to do, because that's going to be the biggest draw for people that come out of an event or people that are wanting to hang out on property longer, giving them something to do. And so that's really what we're looking at for the C1 building. Is somebody that would be like a pin stack or, something like that that could take over the entire building and provide that, that activity on property.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Al?
Yeah, Eric, let me ask you to kind of look at your competition around you, Dickies Arena, now the Fort Worth and the Stockyards, and they're coming on, I think, pretty strong. And you're seeing other activities, Grapevine Wine Festival, et cetera, as well as going towards Dallas and all. What's your sense of where you feel your sweet spots are that you can try to drive it? Obviously, whatever we end up doing with our Putt 6 will have some determination in some of your thinking. So I kind of give me a view of how you're looking at things.
Yeah, absolutely, Al. I think utilizing the entire property. Like, let Live Nation do what they do best. Let them book their concerts, let them do their thing, but really focus on all of that regional draw that's coming to the property. How can we get them to come back? And then outside of that, it's really activating the property as a true civic center and a true destinational point. So this would be through kind of your point, like a Taste of Irving, these types of events, looking at how we can do big marketplaces and have more placemaking within the 17 acres. So that way all the tenants look at it and people are actually walking the property. And they get to see, I didn't realize that was there, or, I didn't realize they had a movie theater. A lot of people don't realize we have a movie theater there. So I think as we continue to look at our plan, that's really what we're focusing on, is how can we continue to find the people that are already doing this really well. And just like our convention center, they bring in new conventions that they want to grow and move into something bigger, but they're going to help them grow. So let's find those current activations that are happening in Dallas, that are happening in Fort Worth, and bring them over to Irving and have them use the Music Factory. I'll bring their 1,000 people, bring it up to 5,000. We haven't told our friends over at the Marathon, Lazarus, just that they've capped out just yet, and they're bringing 7,000 to 10,000 people for each one of these events. So I think that's where we'll see success, Al, is if we can continue to make consistent activations throughout the property.
Any other questions? I did get a chance to go up to Tashan. Their owners have opened their restaurant there. We ran into them a couple different times at the Music Factory, eating at different restaurants, and it is quite a experience. They do an amazing job.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be a good addition to that area. The one thing that concerns me is, it doesn't concern me, it's one of the things I think about is, do you have a long-term contract with Live Nation?
Yeah.
I don't need to know what it is or anything, because what I'm hearing is both the Stars and the Mavericks are talking about, having a 6,000 to 8,000 seat facility adjacent to their arenas with a Live Nation component. And so I was just curious if we had a contract with them that if all of a sudden somebody offers them something, they can leave. But reality is, if we have a contract, we have a contract. But
yeah, we have a pretty good contract in play, a lease agreement in place that would prevent something like that, Rick.
Awesome. Well, I'm always amazed at any show you go to, it's full. It's from the K-pop, which I have no idea why people are excited about it, other than my wife. And the Hispanic are always packed. It just amazes me. Again, I don't understand a word they're saying, but there are tremendous followings of each of the groups that they bring in. I'm always taken back at the place fills up as fast as it does, and you get people from different places. It's interesting and I think the Punchline has done a real good component. We've been there probably 10 times since they opened, and we usually go someplace to eat, and it's amazing the people that come out of the restaurants and go to the first show, then the people that come out of the restaurants and go to the second show. So they are bringing in people to eat and be involved in other places on the plaza as well.
it's working as a mixed-use development. That's what it was intended to do, and that's the perfect example. So thank you, Rick.
You bet. Thank you. No other questions? We'll go ahead and move on to review of the regular agenda. Items 2 and 3 are minutes from the Thursday, March 26th meeting. Item number 4 is a resolution approving the purchase from single source provider Stryker Sales LLC in the amount of $402,532.12 for the purchase of 4 Stryker power loaded and ambulance cot systems. Item number 8 is a resolution approving First Amendment to office lease agreement for the 6-month extension of temporary housing of the City of Irving Police Department Family Advocacy Center at the property located at 500 East John Carpenter Freeway, Suite 250, owned by 500 EJC Office Owner LLC. Did I jump from? That's what I thought. I went from 1 to 7, so let's go back to 4. I knew there was something in here that we're getting grants, so I wanted to make sure I got that. I skipped a page. We'll go back to 4, which is a resolution approving a grant agreement with the Texas Water Development Board and authorizing the city manager and chief financial officer as a designated representative of the city of Irving to execute a grant agreement for funding in the amount of $18,750,000 and approve other matters related thereto. Item number 5 is ordinance providing for the insurance of the City of Irving, Texas Combined Tax and Surplus Revenue Certificates of Obligation, taxable series 2026, in aggregate principal amounts of $51,250,000, awarding the sale thereof, levying a tax in payment thereof, prescribing the form of said certifications, approving the private placement memorandum, approving a paying agent register agreement and 1 or more escrow agreements, and enacting other provisions they're relating thereto. So that means we're selling bonds, which is why we have the people sitting in the row right there. How are you guys today? All right. Item number 6 is amending ordinance number 2025-11-167, providing budget adjustment number 4 to the 2025-26 fiscal year budget. I did 7 and 8. We'll go to 9, resolution approving a professional service agreement between the City of Irving and Whole System Studio LLC in the amount of $128,900 for the Thomas Jefferson Park redevelopment master plan. So this is just the master plan that we're working on at this point?
Sure. So this is the design for that project. So once we get the architect on board, then we'll start the community meetings and all of those types of things to kind of inform what those improvements will look like.
So do we have a set dollars that we're going to spend on that park? Was there some money that we got from?
There isn't a set amount. We have some money that would be available out of TIF number 1, but there hasn't been a specific set amount yet. I think we're waiting on the public
Master
engagement
plan.
phase to determine kind of what facilities would be.
I just know that whole community is excited to do some stuff over there around the Gandhi, and they walk over there, and I know we're replacing some sidewalks and doing some other stuff. So I know that lighting and some of those things are, so the community engagement part's going to be important for them to make sure that they get what they want. But thank you all for moving forward on that one. Item number 10 is a resolution ratifying the payment made to CCGMC LLC, Series B, in the total estimated amount of $939,739 for emergency pavement repairs from the 900 block to the 1100 block on West Walnut Lane. That was the emergency repairs on the street. Item number 11 is a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the Economic Development Incentive Agreement between the City of Irving and Envoy Air, Inc. in the amount depending upon annual qualifications. That's we're excited to have that 10-year agreement with Envoy to stay in our city. Appreciate John Nix's work on that. Item number 12 is approving an economic development agreement with Revolution of Achievement LLC in the amount of $64,500 for the enhancement incentive related to the property located at 309 South O'Connor Road. Item number 13 is appointment to the Trinity River Authority, DRA, Advisory Committee for the Central Regional Wastewater System. Item number 14 is ratifying the payment made to SYB Construction Company, Inc. in the amount of $160,000 for emergency repair to the 12-inch water line on State Highway 161 and Walnut Lane. Items number 15 through 26 are the bids. Any questions on the bids? Item number, my page is stuck together here for some reason today. Item number 27 is authorizing partial abandonment and vacation of an 80-foot restricted utility easement and 15-foot site and utility easement along a portion of block located at 4050 Regent Boulevard and beginning a portion of Lot 1, Block A, City Corp. North America, first installment owned by RREF Reef CPIF 4050 Regent Boulevard LLC. Item number 28 is a public hearing and designating approximately 8.3631 acres of land as a tax abatement reinvestment zone number 64. Item number 29 is approving a tax abatement between the City of Irving and Nevada Company Corporate Melnix Technologies, Inc. in the amount depending upon the annual qualifications. Item number 30 is a resolution approving an economic development incentive agreement between the City of Irving and Nevada Corporation Melnix Technologies, Inc., and affirming in the amount depending upon annual qualifications. Item number 31 is approving a payment in lieu of tax agreements and authorizing the mayor to execute a letter of support to Nevada Corporation, Maxton Technologies, Inc., and Affairs to receive foreign trade zone designation at 1101 Valley View Lane. Item number 32 is a sign variance 202603-1593, considering a sign variance to allow one existing pole sign to exceed the maximum height. Property located at 2901 West Airport Freeway, owner Don Herring Jr., applicant Don Herring Jr. Any questions? We'll go to our zoning cases. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Al.
No, I just saw that's on 31, on the NVIDIA Corporation and the Foreign Trade Zone. Can you put a light on that for me?
Yes, I'm going to have Brian shed a light on that for all of us.
Oh,
This is items
Brian, bring the money.
28 through 31 are really the same
Okay.
item. This is, there's various components and separate agreements that address different parts of it. But if you can address the foreign trade zone component, Brian.
Right, so
Let me explain
again,
myself why I'm bringing it up, because when I talked to the city manager, he's not in favor of free trade zones, so I'm kind of wanting to figure out what we're doing, okay?
okay, so what this is, and again, the first couple of items, establishing the tax abatement zone and the EDIA relates to taxable values. What the payment in lieu of taxes agreement allows for they've asked for the city to support them having a forward trade zone, which could make a part of their BPP non-taxable. This is BPP that's going out of the country. And so what we've done in the past is said, hey, we will support that. However, you must still pay the taxes that the city would have earned. And so this is a little different in this one, but that is the point of it. On all our pilot agreements, when it comes to porch, we've only had one before, and that's with Crane Worldwide. Well, we have two. We have Crane Worldwide, and then we had, I'm gonna think of the name real quick, but we always have them pay the taxes that would have been to the city, so the city doesn't get a loss.
Yeah, the first three items, the purpose of 31 is to ensure that by granting them foreign trade zone status, we don't end up getting less than what we bargained for in the Economic Development Incentive Agreement.
I'm going to take at it from a different angle, Philip. And that is, are we starting to go down that road? Because we're going to see more of this, I think, coming at us because of international trade, especially in this hemisphere. And so I'm not suggesting that we then consider a free trade zone in and around the airport in our city. But it's something we ought to be thinking about. And or should we have a special category for international movement, whatever goods they may be, what would be covered in a free trade zone? I guess I'm trying to figure out, if we're going to do this one at a time, are we really setting ourselves up for setting a precedent? I guess is another way to look at it.
Well, what actually happens is actually a benefit to us when foreign trade zone, first of all, DFW is already its own foreign trade zone, number 39. So what these are sites that are outside of DFW. They're connected to DFW, they're not on DFW property. So a lot of people who are doing international trade, they'll go do a deal straight with DFW, in which the city gets no tax revenue necessarily off of that. There's no property tax revenue coming to the city on that. So when a site is off the DFW property, not only do we still have opportunities for some BPP, we also have real property. So from our side, it is a benefit. So if we ever get an opportunity to look at it, I think it's something we should consider because we get a better benefit than if they go to DFW, straight to DFW. But yeah, it'd be a great problem to have if we had to look at creating a bigger zone versus doing individual sites. It would be a great problem for us to have.
Yeah, and Philip, you may have some comments on it, because I know you and Brett, also the money man. The reason I'm bringing it up is because not only do I think there's going to maybe other opportunities coming at us for obvious reasons, but I'm always somewhat uncomfortable in our relationship with the airport, because they seem to get what they want, whether we like it or not, for obvious historical reasons, as well as federal government. But I don't know, Philip, you have any thoughts on this?
I agree with Brian. I think the Ford Trade Zone allows us to negotiate very specific agreements to at least recoup a portion of the taxes that we would otherwise foregone. If they went on DFW property, we get nothing. So having the ability to negotiate something independent of DFW and at least make sure that we're made whole on city taxes is a benefit to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jocelyn.
Mayor, I had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going back to number 18 with Judge Fight. At some point, are we going to get an opportunity to talk to them about what they're going to be doing?
Yeah, the RFP that is currently out closes on the 24th of this month. I don't know why I want to take 26th, but 24th of this month. We'll review the proposals that we receive, and we'll bring those back to the council with a recommendation.
The description in 18 sounds broader than that, though.
It is. This allows us to use Judge Fight for real estate acquisitions and sales. It was the original contract had a term that expires, and this will extend the term for, is it one more year? Yeah, one more year.
Okay, but there's nothing specific as identified for what they would be doing besides the RFP?
Right. It's a range of services that we will be able to use them for, including acquisitions and sales.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jocelyn. Good afternoon.
Right. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Jocelyn Murphy, Director of Planning. We have 7 cases for tonight. The first one is at 406 Charles. It's a single-family property wanting to Basically keep an accessory building that was built in the back that's within the side yard setback. Staff found no unnecessary hardship. P&Z recommend denial of 9-0. We have no opposition or support. So it's just a single-family property here north of West 6th Street. So here's the site plan. This is a accessory building someone built without a permit. It is a little over 12 feet tall, so it has to be over 5 feet. I believe it has to be, let's see, I got the next slide. It has to be, I believe, about 7 feet from the side setback, and they were requesting it to be about 2 feet and 11 inches. And so that is what the variance request is here. It's just in order to keep this accessory structure within the side foot setback. So this is the subject property. And just, you can, again, kind of see through the trees, the building. I believe this was a proactive code compliance case. That's how we found out about it. And this is the building. And this is an old building. And the side setback. And I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Mark.
This is not a structure, it's not an AUD where somebody would live in. It's, right, Jocelyn?
No, this looks to be a little small. They put a little porch on it for some reason, but this appears to be too small for any living.
And is that, looking at the P&Z, there was a discussion about that it's not built on a foundation, it's just on a slab, and it could be moved.
Yeah, that question was asked, and it's not on a slab.
And the applicant, were they amenable to moving it? It's like 3 feet, that's what we're talking
I
about?
believe she said it could be moved.
Yeah.
That she just wanted to proceed with it anyway, but it could be moved from what I understand.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Abdul?
So this is not the ADU, right?
No, this is not an ADU. This is just storage.
Just a storage?
Yeah, we would be
But
really
no
clear.
no foundation?
No, she says there's not a concrete foundation. There's no plumbing or electric or anything to this one, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? On to the next one.
All right. So the next two are companion cases. These were postponed or continued at the last hearing, and so we brought these back. We did have to renotice because they changed their proposal after working with staff. So the first one is a comprehensive plan amendment. This is at 200 and 300 North Rogers, from local commercial to regional commercial. You'll see in a second there's two properties. This is only the east side property. Staff recommended approval, P&Z recommended approval, 9-0. There was no letters of support. Just today, we received an opposition letter from the South Irving Task Force you should have in memo. So this, again, is the east side. This is currently the parking area for Southern Junction, and in order to get the zoning that they are requesting, if you approve, they would need to change this to regional commercial to be consistent with their request. It is local commercial today. The reason it's local commercial is because of the adjacency to Irving Boulevard. Staff was supportive of this because it allows them to develop the property while still being consistent with the surrounding uses. And I would like to go ahead and go to the zoning case.
Al?
Justin, this isn't the same one, it is the same one that we've had discussions in the past because of the development that we're looking for along Irving Boulevard, am I correct? Because I noticed when I was coming in this morning, there's a yellow sign out there to this, referring to this application.
Right, just right before you hit the bridge, this would have
Yes.
been right to the right.
Yeah. I'm still uncomfortable with this because at the end of the day, it really opens it up for other kind of structures that could be there, whether it's a warehouse or storing, or should I say parking vehicles, especially big semis, et cetera, because that was the same problem we had before. Did that discussion come up in this P&Z meeting where they're now approving it all?
So this proposal, so what I just went through a minute ago was the comprehensive plan case. This next case will be the zoning case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it, thank you.
So I'll if I still
Pick
have.
it up then, okay?
I will. I'll
All
answer your
right,
question
thank
if I haven't before.
All right, great.
So the current zoning now is for the Southern Junction, so it's an RAB base with event center and a farmer's market. And they are requesting to to keep the commercial base, so the community commercial zoning. Before, what you had seen was a light industrial zoning base, and so that was removed. And they're adding uses including automotive sales, accessory indoor storage, a limited amount, and accessory outdoor storage, which would be a limited amount. So this would also allow contractors' yards and the uses that are similar to what are in the area today. So staff did recommend approval. P&Z recommended approval 9-0. Again, no letters of support and opposition from the South Irving Task Force. So this does include both of the properties on the east side and the west side. They do intend at this point to keep the Southern Junction building and reuse it. So this is just their formal site plan, since it's an SP2. It just lists some of the uses. So it's got the notes, and this is what a typical SP2 site plan is. But this is a blow-up of those notes. So it would be the base zoning of the community commercial, adding contractors, office, and storage, but the storage area can't be over 49%. So we did a 51-49 so that they could do like a showroom. Think of it like a home builder's showroom where you look at the carpet or you look at tile or something. In the public area, in the back area, they might store those products. So we were permitting that. We just didn't want it to be more than half of the building square footage. Also, again, a commercial or retail office, showroom, or storage, again, not over 49%. Automobile sales, they could have indoor display, but only 10 vehicles could be outdoors. Commercial truck and trailer repair with indoor repair only. This is consistent with some of the uses that are out there today. Outside storage, but it only can be no more than 25% of the floor area of the main use or tenant space. So we are limiting the amount of outside storage they could have. They would also figure out how to do outside storage and park. So I don't know how they're going to park all the uses on this property and have outside storage. So it's a pretty tight property. Again, any other indoor storage could be no more than 49% of a lease space, with at least 51% being commercial activity, and allowing outside hand washing of vehicles. And just some pictures of Southern Junction and the property. Again, fitting all those uses on here and their required parking is going to be a challenge for them. And this is the property on the east side that we're talking about. Here's Irving Boulevard as it goes up and over the bridge. And just some of the surrounding uses. Again, a lot of auto uses, contractors' yards. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? John?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jocelyn. So I take it the comprehensive plan for the property on the west side of Rogers is compatible with the zoning case?
Yes. So it's a regional commercial, which is consistent with the CC zoning.
Okay, it is already regional, okay. And then the percentages in the zoning case regarding, indoor, outdoor, commercial, all that, those are cumulative of the two properties? Or it's the one property, but it's cumulative of both sides, right?
Well, this would be for each tenant space. So if there's a contractor's office, if they use the whole existing building where Southern Junction is, then no more than 51%, or no more than 49% could be storage. If they decide to divide that up into 3 spaces, 4 spaces, so this would apply to each individual use or tenant space. Each CO would have those requirements.
So if you divided it up and, one tenant only had 10% storage space, that doesn't give the other tenants extra storage space?
Well, so it's not cumulative, all of it. So if somebody has, say, 2,000 square feet, and they just kind of put a demising wall in between, then, no more than, a little under 1,000 square feet could be storage, and a little over 1,000 square feet would have to be office. So it's based on the individual square footages of the tenants. So it's not the entire, they wouldn't be sharing the 5149.
Okay.
It'd be each individual tenant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
David?
Jocelyn, so this would effectively, Southern Comfort would not, or Southern Junction,
Not quite yet, not Southern Comfort yet. Yeah.
would effectively not be able to operate anymore.
They
after
told us at P&Z they had one more event and they were closing. That's what they said at P&Z.
Do we know if that's a correct statement, or?
They can answer it tonight, but that's what
Okay.
they told us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Actually,
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
No, you go ahead.
I know there was the comments about from the Southern Task Force that, about it being operated successfully as an entertainment business, but the developer is saying that it's not been successful, so, yeah, so, and then I get, so this is somewhat of a compromise, I guess, that's being proposed, but with the ability to, I mean, so, but it allows it to be economically viable for some time being, but it can go back to more of a retail type of development at some point.
Yeah, it fully supports retail and commercial, but giving a little bit of the heavier auto-based uses. That's the thought. But they've been trying to sell this for a couple of years. We've gotten all kinds of people kicking tires of different uses of what they wanted to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right.
All right.
We'll move on, see how we go tonight.
The next one, 4190 Valley View Lane, existing CC Community Commercial and SP1 Community Commercial, SP2, SP2CO for commercial office and cemetery uses in Highway 161 overlay with the variance to the minimum size of a cemetery and internment setbacks. The staff recommended denial. P&Z recommended denial 5-4. We have one letter of support that you should have under memo and none in opposition. So here's the property on Valley View. This is, I believe, Walnut Hill. Estelle Road this was a former Estelle community, and Estelle Road doesn't exist. It's basically a paper street. It's not been built. The city's animal shelter and animal shelter property is down here. So this is the proposed site plan. Of course, last year, the City Council approved the cemetery regulations. One of the requirements was to show the proposed driveway. So around the edges, as you have the proposed concrete driveway. This connection to Valley View Lane and some of the other details will have to be determined later. They're still working through the access and some of the issues on the property. One of the variances is, this is the existing Harrington Cemetery. It is separately owned and will continue to be separately owned. And so since it already is a cemetery, they requested a setback to not have to have that 20-foot buffer. And then, of course, the biggest variance is the required minimum lot size is 25 acres, and this property is 4.76 acres. And then the usable amount of it will probably reduce once you get into putting the driveway, storage areas, and that type of thing. So this is the property from Valley View. This is a drainage structure currently under Valley View. This is the property to DFW Airport property. This is the Estelle Road right-of-way. This looks like, from what we can tell, is the access into Harrington Cemetery. It is state law that any cemetery has to have access for maintenance. So the family or anybody who maintains it has to have access. This is actually school, Irving ISD property. And then the DFW Airport owns the property adjacent to the east. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to, just for full transparency, we typically take care of infrastructure issues, access, drainage at the time of plating. I will tell you, there are issues related to access and drainage that we just don't know right now that could affect the viability of how this is developed. Trevor can probably speak to that more in detail, but I wanted to be clear that that access point, as I understand it, is probably not going to work. And there is drainage on the property on an unstudied stream that'll have to be studied to determine the boundaries of the floodplain. And we don't know how much of the property would be affected by that. So again, those are typically addressed at the time of plating, but I wanted to make sure that the council is aware that those are kind of significant issues that we just don't have the answers to right now. And Trevor can answer any questions.
Chairman, real quick, I think if we can postpone this for 60 to 90 days, so we can do a little bit more studying on that. I don't think it's baked ready for us to move forward, We have to look at the access points. We would probably recommend that they go up to Estelle and not use Valley View at all. And then we also have to worry about the floodplain and flood zone where it's located. So there's still a lot of study and homework that we have to do on our side from Public Works, but I'll turn it over to Trevor as well if he has any additional comments.
Yeah, I think they hit on all of it, but I can further explain if there's any questions or items like that, but there are some concerns.
So we have floodplain concerns and access concerns. Now, are those things we need to understand or contact the Corps and?
No, not the Corps. I mean, the problem with the floodplain is, just like Phil said, it's not a studied area. So, I mean, we know that there are some issues there. I just don't know what they are, if it's floodway, if it's floodplain, how much of it's in there, how much, if you can even develop it, how much mitigation is going to be required. A lot of unanswered questions as far as the floodplain. The access point, as it's shown right there, would not be something we would approve. That would require the city to build the infrastructure for their driveway, which is not something we would want to do. Just because if we ever had to get it, one, we don't want to have that cost. Two, if we ever had to maintain it, we would shut off their one access point to their property. So there are some options, but again, we don't know which one is the best option yet. And so, I think we just wanted to be very transparent that there are a lot of things that still need to be vetted and ran through before we could even consider if this would work or not.
So the main thing you're saying is that we can get a lot of this information done ourselves, so it's not a cost to the applicant or the city, other than our time, that we have people on staff that can do it?
So typically, the developer would be the one, when they come in, they would be the one that we would require them to do the study. As far as the access points, I mean, we could work with the developer, determine what is the best area or what is the best access points. Again, the Valley View is not great just because of the easements. We would have to provide them a private easement or an easement to get to their property. It's very limited to get into that property. It would be a right-in, right-out only, coming down that way. You couldn't access it coming south on Valley View. So typically, that would be something we would require the developer to do, and we would work with them through that process.
Abdul.
Thank you, Mayor. I happened to visit the site, as well as I happened to have a conversation with the engineers and the applicant. Have we brought these concerns to their notice? I felt that they have all the answers to these questions, and I think they are here. If you allow, then probably they would give you all the answers needed.
I'd rather do the discussions tonight. We don't typically have people come during the work session so that the public can hear what we're doing.
Okay. But to answer your question, we've had extensive discussions with the developer about this, or their engineer, the developer's engineer.
So hopefully, to that point, hopefully that'll be part of their presentation tonight that they present to us.
Yeah. So, no, that's good. We could get all the answers what is needed. But this is also very important, especially to my district, this item. And I think when we started the conversations about the cemetery ordinance, we thought about it, we go over with detail what is needed. They have addressed some concerns to the security. They addressed some concerns of the payments and the drive-through. They addressed it's going to be a perpetual cemetery to take care of the maintenance, once it's needed. So all of those questions, I think, has been taken care, and I would love to look forward to see those answers. And I think we should consider it very, because to my knowledge, I know that this is under the contract. Delaying would not help because it will have a financial impact on the applicant. It's a nonprofit work. I think they are trying to do their best to make sure that they will answer all the questions which you have. Thank you.
Luis?
Yeah, just wanted to follow up on what Philip said. Just give me a little bit of the timeline, because this was postponed before. And then, as I heard in the P&Z, the applicant saying that they really needed a vote that night and wouldn't want to, as a dual reference, to postpone it further. Obviously, it seems like there's important due diligence that, is not done yet. Is that because it's unplatted, so we're just finding out now more recently, or what's the timeline of that?
I think it was postponed before because there was a sign that's required by state law that needed to be posted that didn't get posted, so it had to be pushed. That was the reason for the original postponement. I think what I'm trying to be clear and transparent on is this is a land use case. It's a zoning question, and you're voting on whether or not to authorize the use of the property for this particular use. So after that occurs, there is a platting phase where you have to look at infrastructure, access, and drainage. What I wanted to be clear on is there are issues related to access and drainage that we don't know the answers to, that may have a significant impact on the usability of the property for the intended purpose.
Which would be great for us to know.
Right, and I don't want to, if it's approved, and then we're going through this process later, and these significant issues are discovered, I didn't want that to be, staff, why didn't you tell us? Council is free to approve this tonight. I just want you to be aware that there are issues related to these infrastructure that still need to be worked through, and some of them may be significant. We just don't know right now.
Right.
That's all.
I appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense.
Mark?
Hearing what Orlando and Trevor and Philip are saying, so we're being, so just recently, we went through and bringing in experts to advise us on what kind of standards we should set for cemeteries. And this case is where we're being asked to deviate from those standards. And so, and hearing what's being discussed is we don't know. We have a lot of questions about what the access is actually going to be, how much usable land there actually will be. So these are very big components of our analysis, and they're unknowns. And so, like Philip was saying, typically you talk about drainage and other issues at platting, but this is one where it actually affects the consideration of the case at the very beginning. So I think moving it out makes sense.
So Jocelyn, you've had conversations so that they're aware that these are two of our bigger concerns as far as access and drainage. I mean, I want to make sure that the applicants know so that they can talk about those things tonight.
Jim Dewey is our engineer, and so he's been very engaged from the beginning with these discussions.
Okay, because I don't want to not have them have all the information so that they can answer the questions as they see fit. Okay?
Sure.
No other?
David? Mayor, real quick, Jocelyn, this has got the Harrington Cemetery right in the middle of the land.
Correct.
I've looked at the land, the mayor and I have driven by there, and what other possible uses ever would that land ever have besides the cemetery is, my question, kind of our looking forward.
Well, and that's one thing we often talk about just among staff, is that a lot of the cases that we see, that y'all see, are the hard-to-develop cases. All the easy properties have been done. Now we're in the hard stuff. We're in the floodplain. We're in the poor access. So, yeah, it's hard to say what it could be. I mean, could there be an office there? Maybe. I mean, there could be a lot of stuff, but whatever went there would have these same issues. Would have to work around the cemetery, would have to work around the floodplain and access issues.
And I see there's zero setback from the cemetery as well as a variance.
Right.
If maybe Jim can talk about that tonight as well, and what's our, we have the 20-foot required. Is that a good or bad thing? I don't know.
The 20-foot was put in there, like if you are up against a commercial property or a single-family subdivision, just to give a bit of buffer, and also, if there's an easement or something. That doesn't really apply here, and so their thought was, if there's already graves there, putting graves within that 20-foot boundary would not harm it.
And is that property owner, any feedback, or are they fine with it, or?
We haven't heard, as far as I know. I mean,
Okay.
whoever owns it, the appraisal district is who got notice.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, my concern is not so much the use as it is how much use is actually there, and is there things that need to be done? I mean, you can go down to Shady Grove and see where the nice McDonald's is, and then there's partial townhomes built there, where we went way out and told them to go ahead to do it, and they still haven't got clearance from the Corps of Engineers to continue to build out any further than they have, and we stopped they were upset with us because we stopped them from putting in their infrastructure, because we said, if it's out there too long, we can't inspect it. So had we let them just put their infrastructure in like they wanted, and it's been this long, they would have had to tear it all out. So, I mean, in some ways, we're just trying to make sure that the applicant gets the product that they want. I mean, hopefully, it's not that big of a deal, and we can, in a few weeks, we can know how much drainage we need, and we can also figure out how to get the driveway in there, and then actually know how much land there's left, because I'd hate to be the one that we get ourselves in a situation like we did with Parkside and some of these others, where we just move forward, and then all of a sudden, we're spending $200,000 a year to clean the drain out, and and they're still not happy with what we're doing up there because they don't like the way it drains and things of that nature. So, I mean, if we get the cart ahead of the horse, it's not good for the applicant nor the city. And that's all I'm saying. And again, to me, it's not about the use. It's about how much use is available on this land once everything gets put together. So it really works out. And I just want that out there, because it's not a matter of should it be there or shouldn't it be there. I just want to know what it's going to be, so that we have the drainage we need and the ingress and egress that we need, and then what's left for the use. Dennis?
Yeah, I just got one fundamental question, because what I don't want to do is spend a whole lot of time going down this road, going back and forth, doing all this stuff. How many council members on here is going to allow a cemetery under 25 acres?
We can't take a vote in here, Dennis.
Well, right, but this is my point.
Right.
If the 25 acres is not going to be allowed, everything we're doing is a waste of time.
And
I think, hold on.
Oh, sorry, Dennis.
And I think that need to be decided first. Don't waste their time if you're not going to do it at all, period, because of the 25-acre standard that Mark referenced. So I think in all fairness to these applicants and everybody else, if you're not going to do anything under 25 acres, you can't do it in here, but go ahead and tell these people so they don't waste their time thinking that they still got a chance.
And that was my question to Jocelyn, mainly, if it was not for that Harrington family cemetery on there, what other use is ever going to be on that land? And that's my whole point of asking about that. Number two, Jocelyn, how did they get to that Harrington family cemetery? Is there any access points? Or?
Yeah, and that's
showing earlier.
Yeah, this is what we saw. So this is that Estelle Road that used to be a road,
Right.
and this is ISD property. It looks like they just cut catty corner off.
Is that normal? You cut through other people's property to get your own property, or?
Until the owner tells you not to, I suppose.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Till you get in trouble. Yeah. Okay, on to the next one.
All right. Next one, 3102 Dupree. It's SP.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yes.
We talked about postponement. Are we talking indefinitely, or are we trying to put a date on it? Because we could be doing it in 90 days, and we got the same problem because we haven't got clarity on what the access and some of the other impacts might be. So what are we doing?
We haven't made a decision. We'll make that tonight.
All right, but we are in a comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think realistically, they've obviously got some thoughts on it, and they've been studying it, so I think we need to hear those things before we start talking about what we're going to do. All right? Next one.
All right, this one, 3102 Dupree. It's an SP2 in a single-family district with variances to the minimum front and side setbacks. Staff found no unnecessary hardship. P&Z recommended approval of 6-3. There were no letters of support and one in opposition. So it's here at the corner, I believe it's Wright Street and Dupree. So it is a corner lot. The house burned down, and so the applicants purchased the property in order to build a new home, and they're just wanting to be able to fit the home on the property. So the one letter of opposition is down the street. So here's just a graphic of what they are requesting. It does have an established 30-foot front yard setback, which all the houses on the block appear to meet. They are proposing a 25-foot front setback, which they need to have so they can have their 25-foot driveway, and then a 20-foot setback on the corner. And here's just the formal, again, the required 30 feet, requesting 25 feet in the front and 20 on the side. So here's the property, again, burned down and has been cleared. Another view. So this is the property on the side, or in the rear, I guess, and this is the one that would be impacted from the 30 to the 20-foot setback. The driveway is on the opposite side of the house. Traffic didn't have any issues with it, and because the driveway is over here, it doesn't seem to really affect any of their visibility. North of the property, again, so it'd be about 5 feet in front of this house. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? All right.
All right.
Next one.
Last case. 1311 Meridian Drive. This is what staff refers to as Sandman 2. It already has approval. It's SP2 for freeway for a hotel, multifamily, and State Highway 161 overlay. The first Sandman has been built, and so this is the second one, the one's a little bit to the north. And they're just requesting an RAB to sell alcohol. Staff recommends approval, P&Z approval 9-0, no opposition or support. So this is the one that is under construction or has been constructed. This is the property of the Sandman 2. I believe their permit has been submitted. I know you have a memo or comment that someone had submitted about providing more meeting area. The hotel itself is designed and under construction, so it's really not possible to add any meeting area. This is just simply a request to have alcohol sales on their property.
Any questions? John?
Thank you, Mayor. Not so much a question, just wanted to make a comment about, so this is a companion hotel. The same company has another hotel right next door, and I was able to attend the grand opening, and this is a really quality hotel, that they put in, and very uncharacteristically for a lot of the hotel cases we get here, there are no variances to our standards here, which you love to see that. But yeah, so I would encourage the rest of council to go check out the restaurant in the hotel that is open over here, and when this one comes in, it's going to be another really quality project, so I'm fully in support of this case.
All right. Next one.
Now, this is our last case. 707 Hilltop. This is simply, it's zoned multifamily from a 1974 zoning, I believe, wanting to rezone to single family in order to rebuild a house. Staff recommends approval, P&Z approval 9-0, no opposition or support. So it's simply a house today. They're wanting to, I don't believe it burned down. I think they're just wanting to demo the house and rebuild another house. And whenever you take something down to 100%, it has to meet the regulations of the district. So that's all they're wanting to do.
Cleaning up the zoning. Yep. And then as far as the appointment at the Building Standards, David, you guys got somebody? All right. That brings us to the end of the agenda. Do we have, the next one is National League of Cities update. Do we have somebody with us on that, or?
We went to a conference.
Turn your mic on.
Okay, so I'll start. Basically, me and David had the privilege to go to the National League of Cities Congressional Conference, and I enjoyed going to them. because, of course, every time you go to these conferences, you get to do a lot of networking. But this one, the congressional conference, really focused a lot on like legislation, connecting with congressional people to try to advocate for, different funding and things they need. We had, several senators who spoke. Rand Paul was one. About 3 or 4 of them spoke, and they all spoke on different things. But I guess a couple of the highlights that I got from it was, number one, I appreciate the funding that was given to the Youth Action Council. And I think some of y'all got their thank you letters in your packet. The kids really enjoyed being there. They learned a lot. I think a couple of them, that was the first time they ever ridden on an airplane. And several of them, that was the first time they've been to Washington, D.C. And so we're hoping that next year, especially when we go again, that the council can put some more money in the budget to not only allow more kids to come, but also for them to be able to stay there longer. While we was at the dinner with them, they was expressing just a lot of things that they learned, a lot of appreciation. So, and it was good, and it was good too because when you go to this conference, you have cities all over the country who send these youth delegations. They actually have their own conference, the youth, and so it's a good experience for all of our youth who went. One of the most interesting sessions that I went to was a session called Immigration and What You Need to Know as a City Official, and the presenter was the police chief from the city of Minneapolis. And it talked about, the struggles that they had trying to deal with like 5 different federal agencies that was actually operating in their city, and there was no central command. He said it was just like all of them was doing kind of what they wanted to do. Had the Federal Bureau of Prisons was there, you name it. And even though they was getting complaints from citizens about, the operations of these federal agencies, there was nothing they could do about it, So it really highlighted the problems that, the federal government and ICE and all of them could actually have for your city. Because again, you're not just going to go up against the federal government, because some people say, well, why don't you arrest some of these officers for, what they're doing? And of course, you can't do that. But it was very interesting. So they start talking about solutions and responses to it. And there was one guy, I don't forget what city he was from, but what he suggested is that they took all of their city policies, and then they took all of like federal legislation, everything that has to do with ICE and everything, and they put it in AI and told the AI to find the conflicts with their policies versus the federal, policies, which I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah. And then when they realized, okay, so here are the conflicts, then they began to use those as a city to kind of, work to bring them in line. So that was pretty interesting. Let me see, there was a discussion about a basic act, a bill that focused on transportation. And one of the impetus for it was they was wanting to try to get more like federal funding and transportation funding directly to cities, not so much through the metropolitan, agency like RTC, but actually make it easier for cities themselves to get their own money. So I mean, there was a lot of other things that, we experienced, but those 2 or 3 really stayed with me. So David, I'm gonna pass it off to you, and you can handle it from there.
Thank you, Dennis. I also went to a AI policy from the mayor of Lake Stevens, Washington, who gave us a big overview of how they implemented their artificial intelligence with a lot of notes on it. Some of the things not using the same LLM for all answers because they use 3 and they're vastly different answers coming through for their city governance. Securing the data, putting in a 6-month program, making sure everything works. So it's a lot of the things we can learn from other cities of their mistakes and what they found to be successful, which was great. There was also, let's see what other big notes I had. As we look at the Charter Review Committee, I think we'll be putting together soon for looking at the charter meeting the other Texas cities. They had a Texas delegation where we got to meet a lot of other city council members. El Paso, bigger city, they do 4-year election cycles, so 2 4-year terms, which we have considered looking at, and they would be a good example of a city. So a lot of these things where you sit and talk to the other city councils of what they're really doing and what their big issues are. My biggest takeaway from all is we have a great city here. We're not too big where we can't manage like El Paso and Dallas and some of the other places we hear about, but we're not too small, and we hear people can't get one more fire person or can't fix potholes. So we're kind of in that little sweet spot for this city, and it's a really, really great place, and it's good to learn from these other cities as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'll put my input because the three of us got with the young people that were there with us. Yeah, I was there. I was looking right at you. You were trying to eat those scallops. I know what you were up to. What my takeaway is, there were 2 big bowls of clams and, what was the other? Mussels. And 2 of the kids had never, ever had this kind of food. They ate every single one of these damn clams and there was a pile that big. So I said, you know what? We did something right. These young people now can go to the seafood restaurant. So that's my takeaway. Thank you.
And just for the record, that was not a city budget item. I paid for all the dinner, so.
Yeah, I think that, this program was started, I think David Palmer started it, and I think it's a great opportunity to get young people to go and get our young people excited about our youth center, because that's where they come from, and they're involved there, and we want to do everything we can to get them engaged and do this. So I think, Shanae will kick me, but I can say it because I'm leaving. But we have a couple $100,000 we usually have in our account, and if we needed to pull 10,000 out of there or something to use it for there, I think that would be very well worth dollars spent to help these young people feel good about learning something new. Plus to give them a chance because they've done something. They don't just get to go; they have to compete to get it, and so. I think it's a great opportunity, and thank you guys for doing it. I think that's important to spend the time with them, so thank you both for doing it, or all 3 of you, excuse me. All right, data centers. I asked David to go with me the other morning to breakfast because I don't think he gets up early enough, so I said, we got a 7:30 breakfast, we could start it. And it was for the DFW Metroplex mayors, and we had Bill Flores, who Al knows very well from the oil and gas business. Yeah. And this, yeah. And so this is what his presentation, he was a congressman for 10 years, and I had the opportunity to have dinner with him the night before. Several of us mayors got together and visited with him because all of us are hearing about data warehouses and what it really means and data centers and things of that nature. So not that this is part of the presentation, I just wanted to give it to you guys to read and kind of get caught up on, but he really goes through and talks about ERCOT and how we're changing and how fast we're growing as a region and how are we going to move forward. And a couple of things, a lot of the stuff in here we all know, but a couple of points that he made I thought were extremely important. One was that the power that we are going to have to add to the state, key takeaway, 67% demand growth over the next 5 years is like adding the state of California to our grid. That's what we're looking at in order to get our power where we need it. In the next 5 years, we've got to build this grid to the point of as if we were powering the whole state of California as well as what we're doing today. So I thought it was a good takeaway. And the other thing that I thought was good, and towards the end of it, he talks about the meeting the challenges of the 765 kV transmission. And you can see that what they're basically going to be doing is they're going to be going all across the whole state and going from the 360 and I shouldn't even be talking about this because I don't know what that even means, to the 765, which means they're going to be putting in bigger poles and different poles in these locations. So I thought it was just good information about ERCOT and the grid and where we see this, the state going. What was also interesting was the fact that Texas is the governor and the legislator is very concerned about, they want to get on top of this AI. They want to be number one in it before they look at their competition for this as China. They want to be able to beat China and have everything in place sooner than later, dealing with AI and how that all comes out. So it was a very interesting conversation. And then I think, David, you had a conversation where they talked about how they were going to move forward with 2 and 4 and 6 years. And he made a point, too, which followed before David starts, that they realized that so many applications were coming in and so many people were trying to figure out where they were going to get the power from, and they were crisscrossing and everything else. So they finally just said, stop. We're not going to approve anymore. And so, David, you can kind of, you had another meeting you went to that kind of talked about that, too.
Yeah, and a few things on the power side and hooking up to the grid. They did put a pause on it. They'll open it back up in September. So they're meeting. He's accelerating things that normally take 2 years down at ERCOT, accelerating it 4 to 5 months. So they are on it. I think the change in ERCOT in the leadership since Uri has been very beneficial. Also talked to him about the nuclear. We're hearing a lot about the small nuclear reactors and coming in, and he doesn't see that as any short term on this. It's a long-term development on those, and they need to do it in massive volume to get to the kilowatt per hours. He did say that if he had his choice, he'd do the large nuclear reactors, but build them in sequence, build 5 to 10 of them, mainly for the workforce development and then getting the cost downs over time and really getting a lot of power. The nuclear side of things, the Department of Energy has to allow permits for these, so it's not something they control wholly, and they don't control any fuel or disposal of fuel. And there's different types of uranium fuel out there that some sourced in America and some sourced in Russia only. So it's a pretty interesting sitting there talking to him. Love to have him come present to the whole city at some point. I think Councilman Zaponte, you know him pretty well, and maybe you can put a little bug in his ear to get him up here. One other thing on data centers, had Chad and his IT group put together a one-pager for us when we go out in the public and talk. I think that's almost quite ready. Chad, I don't know if you have time to just kind of show him a little preview. And while he's coming up too, you'll see in the presentation there's a term that I hadn't heard before, but BYOP. So while these data centers are being built, they are asking them to bring your own power. So that power source can be wind, solar, gas. Caterpillar does turbines, so there's a lot of different ways to power it up while they're waiting on grid access. So that's going to be happening in coordination with us, not with ERCOT. So if they bring their own power, that's a us problem of where it's going to be, the noise, the type of power. So that's another kind of question, Jocelyn, on when we see the data centers of what are you doing for power before you're on the grid. And that's really controlled by our city. But Chad, I'll give you a little time here.
Sure. Chad Powell, Chief Technology Officer. The IT department collaborated with planning and several other departments that are involved in the review and approval process for data centers. So there's a little bit of information regarding what is a data center, the uses for them. We address the common data center concerns over power and water and noise. This should be ready to be released in the read file hopefully next Friday. We're still waiting for some feedback from one of our data center partners. We want to make sure that we're being transparent and fair in what we give them. But this would be something that we would, like David said, distribute to you. We'll actually give you hard copies so that you can pass them out to citizens or concerned members of the community.
Thank you, and they did a great job of getting all this. We also had a great presentation from Todd this morning on water use for data centers. All our data centers now are closed loop, and just like you said, they don't use any more than a standard warehouse. We do have the big user of, at the old semiconductor facility that is still water cooled, and that's the only facilities to my knowledge. Maybe Jocelyn or but as far as any cooling system, that's the only one that's non-closed loop and using a massive amount of water. So I think the city's done a great job. Y'all did a great job before I got on council doing the data center whole process, and I think it's working, and we can do things safe and make sure it's environmentally sound as well. So thank you.
I think one of the things he also said to us, David, is he was going to get us a list of questions that city should ask them: water, power, and there were 2 or 3 other things. I can't remember what they were. Noise, yeah. And anyway, Al.
This is more historical because it's really interesting, and that's that Texas is not part of the western or the eastern grid. We're our own grid in the state of Texas. And what's happening to us now that we're growing the way we're growing, the reason we did it that way, and those were my days in the oil and gas industry, is we had everything we needed here: natural gas, oil, you name it. Well, now with the growth, and now we're getting these various kinds of applications that are going to be water and power monsters, so to speak. It's really, I think what we started with the data centers, I think there's a little bit more for us to do, Mayor, to try to figure out how we can, what I call transfer pricing. And we do that in the oil and gas industry because when you do it from one development, you then transfer it on to the grid or wherever it might be, because then it goes on into the utility, and then guess who pays for it? We do, when we get our bill every month. And so this is a real opportunity, I think, for us to really look at, and I'm really glad Bill has got the job and he knows the industry, and I think it'd be really helpful for us, that we then can actually then have probably the premier data center AI applications on not only transfer pricing, so we are really helping our taxpayers. And so those are the kinds of things I think we really have an opportunity. So I thank Mayor, you and David for getting into it. And I think that this is good to know because at the end of the day, we're so big as a state that it would have probably been a good idea for us to be in the east and west networks, that when bad weather happens to us, we can tap into them. We can tap into New Mexico or Southern California. So it's just those kinds of things that are now we're really at an interesting time. So that's history. I'm glad I'm here with us because I think this is a great chance for us to do something for our city.
Well, it was more David's idea than mine. He just happened to be speaking, so I drug David along. Chad, I'm sorry.
Just one last point on page 16 of your slide deck. The Texas grid is going to get bigger, and they're going to put 765 kilovolt lines across the whole state, mainly to tap into all the wind production, and it's in the multi-billion-dollar. But you're going to see a big upgrade to the whole Texas ERCOT system coming in the next 10 years as they build this out. So it was pretty interesting talk.
Chad, did you have more? We kind of stepped on your.
No, you're fine. I will just add that we, as a city, are a customer of a local data center here in Irving. After Winter Storm Uri wrecked the power grid, we were down due to the power outages and the cold weather. But the data center that we now have a space at, they never went off the grid. Their substation connects to the same utility as the airport, and the airport never loses power. So that was a good motivation. They also have a lot of internet service providers that provide connectivity into the data center, and that allowed us an opportunity to to rent some space by actually reducing the cost that we were paying on some of our internet circuits. It's much cheaper when you go to the source. So they have economies of scale way beyond anything that we're capable of doing in terms of redundancy in-house. They just in the one data center that we're a part of, it's actually a 6 data center campus, or will be here in the next couple of years. Our data center alone has 18 2.5 megawatt generators. And one of the cool things about what they did was during Winter Storm Uri, they actually, through their contracts for diesel, they actually preemptively chose to go off of the grid and run directly through their generators, and that allowed ERCOT to be able to redistribute the power that they were not using to residents and to people affected by the outages. So that's about it.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you all for your time putting it all together and keeping us in the loop. Okay, that brings us to our executive session. So, Kao, if you want to read us in, and we're going to take a 10, 15-minute break after we read in, and then we'll come back.
Yes, sir. The time is 3:01. The Irving City Council will convene into a closed executive session to receive legal advice and discuss economic development negotiations pursuant to Open Meetings Act Sections 551.071 and 551.087.